Hey everybody, I know it's Thursday afternoon and I'm just now getting around to doing a new Big Arch vlog. I never promised you a rose garden. Boy, you got really old to recognize that one. But anyway, doing on to now. Um, Mostly what I'm buried in is the final stuff for the final manuscript for Legends Unleashed. It needs to be solid and tight. And your patience is really appreciated because I'm trying to make sure that some of the niggling mistakes that crept into the layout, especially, and other things with Legends Arise, don't happen this time. So that's why it's really important to use this model, this template that Ace did up for me, so we can make sure that all the headers and everything else are where they need to be. Nectar of life. Quickest way to get free Benny, extra Benny from me at a game table, show up with Coke Zero for me. Okay, so part of what's going on with the major rewrite of one of the sections, which is the Legendary Tale stuff. I'm kind of getting rid of the single campaign outline thing. Actually, I'm completely getting rid of that. It was something that was used in Legend Arise, and it was sort of evolved out of my time when I was still working with the Reality Blurs guys. I'm much more going with the ethic that I have for this kind of thing, something called challenge arcs. Challenge arcs provide a lot of the same kinds of information as those adventure outlines, but they do so in a way that doesn't presuppose a single line of experiences. This is much more in keeping with my ethic that everyone is sharing in the greater world. Whether you're involved with justice in life or not, I like to feel like everybody who's running a campaign potentially could be having canonical experiences that are unique to their time in the Shaintar setting. So, let me just, the best way to do this is just to share with you one of the ones that's going into the book, all right? So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This, I believe, will really help GMs by giving them lots of the kind of information they need while still letting them construct the storylines that are unique to their characters. So, for example, one of the challenge arcs is called the Crimson Crusade. And the elements that are in each of these I will describe. The high concept, which, classic elevator pitch thing. In this case, the high concept is the prelacy strikes while the southern kingdoms are still reeling from the War of Flame. Primary opposition, that section gets into the main big players that the heroes will be fighting, which in this case is the forces of the prelacy of Cayman and the allied builder forces. Key antagonists. Now, this is where individuals are going to be listed, and they're the ones who are considered the main string pullers, the individuals that potentially could be encountered, and in some cases will be encountered, but in many cases also won't necessarily be killed or destroyed. They may just be defeated, and then they're still back there in the background. Cardinal Richelieu, if you will. In this case, the Cardinal of Judgment, His Excellency Harkenlore, the Supreme Paladin, His Lordship Sir Nedrick Njunu, the Archbishop Stéphane Galloway, which is, Archbishop Stéphane Galloway, Holy Purifier. He's like a big deal. Holy Purifier, exalted rank, I should say. And Comtesse Claire Collard, a agent provocateur. And then the Adjutant Maker Fulgor. Makers are like big deal Uber builder type guys. Antagonist agents. Now, this is going to reference specific entries or groups of entries in the Denizens sections of both Shaintar Legends Arise and Legends Unleashed. And it'll indicate here. So, for example, for the Crimson Crusade challenge arc, the Legends Arise agents. By the way, these are considered usually wild cards, right? These are the lieutenant type guys, or the minor boss battles, if you will. Bandit princes, which are guys that have been employed more or less to cause chaos within the Southern Kingdoms. Criminal bosses, agents of urban discord. Those kinds of guys. Antagonist agents from Legends Unleashed will include arbiters and warrior adepts who are acting as Inquisition agents, builders of various types, crime lords, and these are builders from the Legends Unleashed section, so they're like the elite guys. Crime lords and master thieves, which are basically operating as prelacy spies. Tor Mustak commanders, but in this case it's the entry itself that's being used, but they're not Kalanesh in this case. They're repurposed as Inquisition agents, so use the same stats as a Tor Mustak commander, but he's in fact employed by the prelacy. And then prelacy forces naturally, and then soldiers represent more just straight military army guys. The Prelacy forces are more working directly for the Supreme Paladin. Antagonist minions. These are guys who are more or less be extras, but they're the types of basic, rank and file foes that the heroes are most likely going to be fighting against. Adepts as Inquisition agents, marauders and bandits, builders of the Legends Arise level variety, criminals of the Legends Arise level variety, Prelacy Paladins, Rangers, which you repurpose those stats as Prelacy Scout Forces, and again, soldiers of a lesser nature. The next section is opposition goals. In the case of Crimson Crusade, ostensibly to defeat and rule all of the Southern Kingdoms, casting out or slaughtering all who are impure and worthy. More realistically, to dramatically increase land holdings and resources, as well as diminishing Alara's and Galea's threats to the borders of the Prelacy. Now, your key allies is the next section. This is the people who are most likely to be providing help and support to the heroes. This would be the kingdoms of Alara and Galea, Grayson's Grey Rangers, the new Wildlands kingdom of Drenmar, that's going to evolve through the storyline and stuff, the Cavaliers of Cayman, and non-humans in the assaulted regions. Allied forces. These are guys that you may actually have as physical allies, in your battles. Soldiers of Alara and Galea, Grey Rangers, priests and paladins of the Church of Light, druids and agents of the Black Lantern. And then the allied goals. This is what your allies are pretty much hoping for and working with you. Stem the tide of Prelacy forces, save lives, shut down the flow of arc fire, weapons, and technology into the Prelacy. That kind of thing. Primary locations. This is the part of the map, basically, the big map where the stuff is likely to be happening most of all. The northeast regions of the Wildlands, northern Galea, eastern Alara, the Prelacy itself, and other locations throughout the Southern Kingdoms as you're tracking down spies and stuff. Synopsis. This is basically exactly what that says. It's a synopsis of the challenge arc. The War of Flame collapsed as a rebellion broke out within the Kalinar Empire, and mere weeks later, the Prelacy's forces began incursions of their own into the borderlands of Alara, Galea, and the Wildlands. Worse, they've had agents working covertly throughout the Southern Kingdoms, and especially within the Wildlands, sowing the seeds of discontent among those they could reach with their rhetoric and their bribes. What began as skirmishes and raids has now blown up into a full-scale invasion, or as the masters of propaganda within the Church of Arcanon sell it, a crusade. The Crimson Crusade, where the blood of infidels will run as rivers until all the lands are cleansed. Rough stuff. Heroes working within the Southern Kingdoms, heroes working with the Southern Kingdoms in any way are very likely to get caught up in this challenge arc. Large swaths of territory are at stake, as are the lives of many thousands of citizens. Especially at risk are all non-humans and all practitioners of magic. So too will anyone who openly worships the light suffer terribly at the hands of the Prelacy's agents of the Inquisition and the Purifiers. Heroes involved in this challenge arc will be engaged in activities like the following, and this is a bullet point list, and this will be for each of the challenge arcs and future challenge arcs. Directly combating raiders and incursion forces from the Prelacy. Seeking out and dealing with agents of the Prelacy who are engaged in espionage and sabotage within the Southern Kingdoms. Finding and stopping agents of the Inquisition before they torture and murder non-believers, non-humans, wielders of magic, and followers of the light. Rescuing those already captured by the Prelacy and its Inquisition before they disappear forever behind enemy lines. Finding builders and their agents and cutting off the flow of arc-fire weapons and devices into Prelacy hands. Uncovering plots by local politicians and treasonous agents preventing secession into Prelacy control or influence. And supporting efforts by the Cavaliers within Cayman to restore the noble houses to their rightful rule. And the final part for each challenge arc will be called the Endgame. This basically is going to cover the possible ways a campaign might come to a conclusion or at least reach some sort of an ending point. The heroes and their allies may simply make the war far too costly for the Prelacy to continue it, especially if they manage to cut off supplies of arc-fire tech from the builders. Effective counterattacks against Prelacy holdings will also go a long way towards knocking the fight out of the Church and its followers. As iron-fisted as the Church's hold on the reins of power is, popular sentiment can and will alter the course of the Grand Archcardinal's decisions. He will bow to the will of the people and call for an end to the Crusade should enough dissent come to light. Of course, the heroes may not be satisfied until the very foundations of the Church's leadership is cracked, opening the way for a full-scale civil war within the borders of the Prelacy. This won't be remotely easy, and may well cost the lives of many thousands upon thousands of innocent civilians. The heroes will be dissuaded from actively pursuing this course by the Council of Rulers and their direct agents in the situation, the Black Lantern. There's a great deal of fear for the impact such a civil war might have on the entire region. So these are things that the GM can work into the storyline, making it a bigger deal than just go kill the bad guys. There's lots of political concerns. Do we destabilize the entire region for the sake of, the greater freedoms and that kind of stuff. The other challenge arcs that I have planned for Legends Unleashed are Never Surrender, Kalanesh and Maelstrom forces left behind from the Empire's retreat run amok in the Southern Kingdoms. A Return to Honor, which will be dealing with the Kalanar Civil War, and the Patchwork Conspiracy, which is kind of a really big deal, certainly for the Justice and Life campaign and for the really, really, really big picture of what happens in the future of Shaintar. So that I'm still working on. So that's what's going on with that. Let's see, more information. Lee Ballou is currently working on a set of support cards for Day in the Life. These are going to be really wonderful for enhancing the experience and making it a lot easier to use your Day in the Life stuff. There'll be cards that you can hand out that represent what people are doing, the bonuses and penalties that they have for their current activities and stuff like that. We're going to be sharing those either as a print and play version for download, relatively inexpensive, and then we're going to also submit them up through the system to have actual print-on-demand versions made available for people who actually want to have a printed deck for their Day in the Life game. Let's see. Major shifts coming for Justice and Life and Shaintar, Justice and Life and the Shaintar.com site overall. This comes from one of our weekly, this is our most recent weekly meetings because the flock gets together online and we have these awesome meetings about what we're doing. The shift is much more moving towards a top-down approach to JNL campaign management. What this primarily means for all of you is that it will be up to you to ensure that your campaigns and your games and your characters and stories are all in compliance with Shaintar content, continuity, and canon. We're going to be spending a lot less time evaluating and improving individual characters, stories, and campaigns, instead relying more heavily upon your willingness to adhere to the rules and the spirit of the world. This means your campaign will become canon by default, with the always looming not canon axe over your head should you not endeavor to read what's in play and stick to it. This won't be applied liberally only when you try to impose changes on the existing canon that simply don't work. So you need to make extensive use of the forum. So you need to get on there. We're going to let the community police itself. If you present some ideas out there before you get going with it, and you'll get feedback from the other players, the other people involved. Everybody has a right to have a say in what they this is a shared world. Share, right? But if people are telling you, hey, that's not a good idea, then don't go there unless you're willing to have the not canon axe come down and go thunk and cut you off. I mean, it's just how it has to be. This way, you spend less time sitting around waiting for us to do stuff. And we're going to spend a lot more focus on the top-down approach as opposed to the bottom-up approach. When I say top-down, I mean more top-down creativity, less bottom-up micromanagement. So we're going to be focusing more on providing storylines and big arcs and meta arcs and cool interweaving things for you to connect to and run with. We're going to be counting on you to help us make it a more shared world through your efforts, not through our efforts to diminish what you're trying to do. So just do me a favor, read the books. Read the content that's there. Play off of what exists. And if you have something really strange and offbeat that you want to do, then yeah, spend some time and be willing to wait a little bit. Try to front load that with enough lead time that we have time to kind of look at it and go, okay, yeah, that's cool, or you shouldn't go there. So, all right, that's it. That's what I got going on today. I hope to have time to do a end of week wrap up of both picks of the day and my current Kickstarter things. I like to try to do that on Friday, so we're going to shoot for that tomorrow. And in the meantime, and I don't say this in a dude bro fashion at all, Jamie Chambers, I say this sincerely, peace out.